Hey guys, welcome to World of Tanks Weekly, I guess is the name we're going to go with. It's number one. It's the first one. I'm going to try and do a replay series every week now. I'm going to start with each tank, go through it. We're going to look at hopefully 3 replays each week. And hopefully there'll be 3 different replays. Today, actually, we've got lined up the T49, the new one. It's a Tier 8 American Scout tank. It's well known in the game for having a massive derp cannon on it. It's got giant HE rounds, has the potential to do a lot of damage, especially for a scout, but you really have to play it careful. Today we've got 3 matches lined up. The first one we're going to look at is a standard ace tanker, just a good solid play. The second one we're going to look at is a high caliber, actually, which will be similar to the ace tanker that we see. Guy's going to put out a lot of damage. Take advantage of probably a lot of flanking maneuvers, things like that. And then the third match that we're going to look at is actually, instead of using the massive gun to do a lot of damage, he's going to do a ton of spotting. It's somewhere around 9,000 spotting damage. So we're going to see that in just a bit. But the first thing I want to do is I want to start off with just the standard ace tanker. So let's jump in. I'll get it started, and we'll jump into this. And we'll keep it to his view so we can take a look at this. Should be we can actually speed this up to get the battle started. Alright, here we go. So the first thing he's going to do is he's going to really utilize his speed. On this map, both the left and the right sides of the map are usually where a lot of the engagements happening. Because of his speed and actually fairly reasonable gun depression, he's going to go over here to the right, this 1-2 line, hide in these bushes, see if he can get some spots off and maybe some lucky shots. Took a shot at the Centurion 7-1. That was kind of a bad shot, but you know, you got to take a risk, right? I mean, he had 15 HE shells, so he's got more than enough ammo. He's got 5 heat, but notice that he's actually using the HE off the bat. The HE is going to give him more reliable damage. The heat is more, I would say, desperation, because the penetration still isn't high enough to guarantee damage. So you still want to use the HE, and the heat rounds you want to save for stuff that you know you're going to be able to punch through, and you want to deal reliable damage. So he's going to back up his buddy in the Centurion 7-1 here. He's trying to do bad. The 7-1, not a bad tank. Armor's kind of paper though, it's a medium, so the armor on the front isn't great at tier 9. So he's taking kind of a beating here, but doing alright. So let's see, he's going to flank over here around the side, and there's a nice hole in here that you can protect yourself underneath this, and he'll get a nice shot on this Tiger. 755 damage is beautiful. Are we on? Yeah, we were a little bit fast there. So we'll bring it back down to ×1. We were at ×2. Which would explain why everything was going a little bit faster than I otherwise intended, but that's alright. So he's going to reposition here and come back around to the backside, because there's a hole, if you'll notice. Let's see if I get a mouse. No. So if you notice down in the FG2 range, there's actually no defenders. We've got all these guys camping in the back, which aren't doing a whole lot, aren't being very useful. So instead, he's going to go up on this IS-8 and try to take him out. Beautiful rear end shot. Easy shot to do. Burn that repair kit. Repair kits, if you guys are new, gotta have a repair kit. I say, basically, tier 5 and up, if you're not running a repair kit, you're doing it wrong. I mean, there are some tanks that you can kind of get away with it, but for the most part, repair kit is the way to go. So, the 3-man platoon working together has basically crushed this side. They're up 7-3, and they're moving pretty well. Now, I took a shot at the Centurion 7-1. It looked like the shell actually fell beneath the Centurion, and so that's why you only saw 83 damage, because it wasn't a direct hit. If it had been a direct hit, very likely would have been a kill. So here's the shot, right into the front. That's I think it's a 950 damage shell. HE shell, so 278, 300 damage is really, really likely, unless you're going up with something that's very, very heavily armored. Alright, so he finally gets the reload. ISU 152 in the side. It's a nice shot. Let it zoom in. Oh, an ammo rack. Beautiful ammo rack. But he didn't need it. Side armor of the ISU, not great. That much damage. I think he was dead either way. So now he's going to use his speed again and move up against the rest of the enemy team, which is hold up where that T25/2 is. Looks like you've got 3 tank destroyers, and I think that's the VK4502A. He's going to try and get a shot. He's going to risk it. He's still got 8 shells, so he's gone through less than half of his ammunition. Missed it at that range, but this tank's not a sniper, so that's not too surprising. You get some bullshit shots, kind of like you do in the KV2, but wasn't to be. So he'll move up. Been spotted, but that's okay. They knew he's coming. And he's going to come up here and really be a thorn in the side of these guys. So 104 damage into Waffenträger auf Panzervier. Don't know if it was worth it, honestly. He was dead either way. I mean, it's good to secure the kill, but at least for damage-wise, sometimes it's nice to go for the juicier targets. I probably would have done the same thing and gone for that kill, because that tank can be very, very dangerous. That right there was a heat round into a weak spot. That's exactly what you want to do with those kind of shells. That's guaranteed damage. And this is where he's low in the heat, you can tell, and that's because he's able to shoot things other than the front armor. Because you don't necessarily have guaranteed penetration through the front. Here he is going to go for the lower glacis of the VK. And there you have it. 5 kills, lots of damage. A beautiful, beautiful game. Alright, let me get the second one loaded up. And I will link these replays in the description, so you guys can take a look at them if you want. But yeah, just wonderful, wonderful game. Alright, the next one we have here is our high caliber match. And again, this is, I mean, the high caliber is like, you know, we're talking 5,000-6,000 damage in one of these tier 8 tanks, and you output so much damage if you're smart with your shell placement. You know, if he was firing at front armor the whole time, like that Tiger 2 for example, each shell would probably be doing between 200 and 400 at most. Plus with misses and everything, you know, you wouldn't see these 700-800 damage shells come through. And that's a big part of that is because you just don't have the penetration, and so, you know, as soon as you fail to penetrate, that cuts off half your damage, and then it's RNG from there, plus armor versus amount of penetration that you get. So you end up losing a lot of damage if you fail to penetrate. So that's why you need to make sure that you're going for those side armor shots. You want as little armor as possible, and hopefully you can penetrate, and then you can get your full amount of damage in. Alright, so let's get in. We got 50 seconds, I'll speed it up here. There's a 5916 that knows what's about to happen. Alright, this is a really good matchup for this tank. Last battle was 2. As a tier 8 scout, your tiers are 9 and 10. And 11, technically. So you won't see tier 8 battles, but this is the closest to a tier 8 you're going to get. The only one I've seen better than this is 1 tier 9 per side. So 3 tier 9s versus 4 tier 9s is a really, really good matchup for this tank, which is balanced based on tier 9, 10, and 11. For those of you that don't know what a tier 11 is, a tier 11 is an elite tier, if you will. It's a tier that's only reachable by tier 9 and tier 10 tanks. And then, of course, your tier 8 scouts, which are just recently added. Alright, it's VK. About to have a bad day. I don't necessarily like that idea. Actually, what that VK did, that was a really, really poor decision on his part. There's a high chance he's a newer player. because that is basically guaranteed death to go right there, especially up against a bunch of scouts. Enemy T49 doesn't appear to have the top turret, which means he doesn't have the large gun. And that was a beautiful shell. Very RNG dependent, but 1,000 damage right on the side of it. Enemy T49, who's unfortunately stock. You can actually tell that too by the hit points. You can see this guy's got 1,100. He had 1,000. But one shot at that range, that's really, really lucky. Alright, he's going to move up here into this high spot. You get good line of sight here, and there's good cover, so if you have a good camo rating, you can usually do a lot of work. He's actually going to get shot on that FCM50T. It looks like he went... Couldn't tell exactly where he went. My guess is into the tracks, or possibly into the gun mantlet, so he didn't get a penetration through the side of the turret, which he could have. But he did some work, which is good. 230-45, 3 damage. Looks like he's going for a bombardier right here. Alright, hits the Tiger 1, 361. That's, again, that's what I'm talking about. You know, you go up against that armor that was angled armor on a Tiger 1. Not enough penetration to get through, so you lose half your damage and then some. But it looks like his team has a decent push here. I don't know what this 40-ton Lorraine is doing. He'd be really useful, actually, trying to play maybe a flanking role instead of a direct engagement. It's hard to say. I mean, as a tier 8 or as a tier 9, he's got a good reload, a good speed. He's a bigger tank, so it's kind of unfortunate. But he's got the power to really go in and wreck. But it looks like he was trying to play it safe with that Lova. I don't know if I really agree with that play, but that's alright. Alright, T49 is being very cautious here. Godzilla, I guess I should say. He knows that the tank destroyers are very likely hugging that ridgeline. That's where they like to go, especially that Waffenträger auf Panzerführer that we see over there on the left, third tank down. So the IS-3 did a scout run. Looks like he spotted a tank, but it's outside his view range. So he's going to go ahead and move up and see if he can engage. And there's the Waffenträger. Takes a hit. Is he going to take a snapshot here? Yep. Lucky snapshot. Very, very lucky. That was almost a full ring. Managed to land that and set him on fire. If that Waffenträger hadn't had a fire extinguisher, he'd have been dead. That burn damage would have knocked him all the way out. He still managed to do 1,000 damage. So we've had a couple of really, really good hits. A couple of hits that are have been useful, but aren't necessarily the best way to go. And it looks like they are camping this really hard. So he's going to poke up here and put around into the T30 and take a big one in return. That didn't actually look like it came from the T30, so that was probably artillery. It's hard to say entirely, but it sounded like HE. T49 doesn't have very much armor, so even a big artillery round like that will take a significant chunk of your health off. And I think that's the M41 there. So, yeah, that's about right. I think that seems about accurate. So he's going to sit here and wait for the T30 to back up all the way. Put a shell right into his side. Got a lucky fire there. Ended up with 1,280 damage on that T30. But he did exactly the right thing. That T30 was backing up, scared of the big push of the tanks that are coming up down that A line. So he did the right thing. He pushed up. And he got the kill. Well done to him. So here we see where the enemy team is having some issues. We've got all of their heavies in the town. Oh, M44, sorry. Of course, now he's unlucky. He's taken 2 snapshots and landed 2 shells. One on the Waffenträger and one on that T49. And then he sets the T30 on fire. Close range shot against an M44? Miss. Of course it is. The team's now doing what I would say is the right thing, because they know that the enemy team knows that they're in a cap position. So they've got one guy on cap, and the rest of them are pushing into town to defend against the inevitable push. because the enemy team knows they don't have the numbers to take. They don't think they have the numbers to take the base. They don't know what's over there. And they don't know how many tanks are moving up. So instead they're coming back to try and defend, which is definitely the right decision. Looks like this guy's going to wait for the T-32 to roll out, but I don't... Oh, he does have a good shot. And he managed to land it. It's a very, very fortunate RNG here for Godzilla in his T-49. And the IS-3 goes down. 8 minutes game. And there we go. Alright, that was game number 2. Pretty good game. Basically you saw, I mean, you get a lot of RNG in there, but he played it right. He was away from his friends. He was doing pretty strong flanking maneuvers. He was using the gun depression. He was using his speed. He was using his camo rating. A really, really solid game. So I like that. I like that a lot. I think it was excellent showcasing of, you know, you get lucky, and that happens a lot, especially with those big guns that have really poor accuracy. Is that you still have to rely on a little bit of RNG, which is random number generation. But the game is still there, and you still have to use that, but you still have to be in the right position to take those shots. So even though RNG plays a big part of it, by not having RNG, or by even including RNG in your calculations for where you're supposed to go, if you are in the right spots, then you help yourself out. And he was definitely in the right spots. All right. So, game number 3. Let's get right into this. Game number 3, we have a T49, bottom of the tier. It's a tier 11 match. This is the one I was talking about. It's only 8s and 9s, with the exception of the tier 8 scouts. The AMX 1390 on the enemy team, and the T49 in the friendly team. So here, he doesn't really have the damage output to go toe-to-toe with a lot of these 9s and 10s. They just have too much armor and too much health. So instead, he's outfitted for spotting. You can see he's got his binoculars, and then he's got, fire extinguisher repair kit thing. That's pretty standard. But he's got binoculars on the tank, and looks like he's running camo. Maybe. I can't really tell. But the important thing is he's got binoculars. Binoculars increase your view range by, I think it's 25% when stationary. So he's going to go up into this bush right here. This is a very, very strong bush, and he's going to camp this spot. Now his camo rating is high enough that he should be able to sit here for almost the entire game and spot anybody who comes up this flank. If he feels confident, there's actually 2 more bushes further up that he can go camp in. And looks like he's moving to one now. Now this is a nice spot because it's high, so you don't have any obstacles in your way. I would say he should hold his fire because he doesn't want to shoot. He wants to just sit here and camp and let his artillery and let all of his other tanks take all the damage. Right, if you notice that T-54 got spotted, I don't know whether he fired or not. The T-54 got spotted and took some shots. And so now he's just sitting here and he's just spotting. He spotted the E3 and the Tortoise now. So they know what's over here and they know they're pushing up. Looks like this is... I'm going to assume it's Russian, but I don't actually know. But he's calling for help. He knows that, if they can take out that E3, the E3 is a very, very dangerous Tier 10 American tank destroyer. Incredibly tough from the front. Almost impossible to penetrate unless you get lucky or you get some lower plate. So what he needs to do is he needs to sit here and just keep spotting and let his team take him out as needed. Now if that Tortoise fires, it'll light up all those bushes and they'll get spotted. So we'll see what happens. Oh, looks like there's another tank. What is this that has shown up? There's the 110 E3. That was a big fire. That might be an E100. Yep, E100. So E3 got spotted again. They know where he's at. If they're running XVM, they'll know as well. That bat chat is doing a lot of active scouting versus the passive scouting of the T49. He's taken about half his hit points in damage. I don't know how much he's dealt. That's really hard to say. This flank, however, is stuck. They can't push up because they're constantly being spotted by Svekanar in his T49. So he's just going to sit here and continue to light everybody up on this flank and let his team do the damage for him. And this is really important. You need, if you're running a scout, you need to understand how this play happens, because sometimes you want to be active. That's important. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes you need to be passive. You need to just sit tight, wait, be calm, don't panic. Don't, you know, I mean, if you've got Sixth Sense, it's a big benefit. But you want to just hang out and let them deal the damage as needed. Now, he's got shots on the flank, but he doesn't want to use them, because if he does, he's basically dead. So instead, he's going to try and let everyone else do it. Looks like a Waffenträger auf E100 got the shot and the kill. That was probably through the lower plate. So, with the E3 dead, he's got a Waffenträger auf E100 behind him. And I'm not sure the other couple of tanks. The T54 was killed. They've got two E100s. That's a rough shot, because that's such a beautiful, beautiful shell that you could send, but you know that as soon as you fire, you're dead. I don't know if I would have the self-discipline to sit here and watch this Lorraine for this long without going, hey, go away, I don't like you anymore. Alright, so the Tortoise and the E100 are still way back there in the corner. The Tortoise looks like he's repositioning. Artillery is reloading, 16 seconds. That E100 is going to be a problem if he pushes. He's got enough armor that even the Waffenträger auf E100 won't be able to kill him off very easily. And it looks like the push is coming. So the E100 has finally got tired and understands that they need to be able to push up this flank. And he's taken some hits. So it looks like he had 2 shells from the Waffenträger go in and 2 bounced. So, our gentleman here, Svekanar in the T49, has just repositioned his tank so that if he needs to leave, he can just go. One of the nice things about scout camo ratings is they can actually move and they maintain their scout rating. Now, he doesn't have camo nets, so being stationary isn't helping him at all, except for the fact that he's behind cover. He's going to be spotting the Lorraine. He's had spotting that the whole time. The E100's down to 1,000 health. And the worst part for him is that Svekanar's friendly Waffenträger auf E100 is now reloaded. And if he's reloaded, or if he's not reloaded yet, he should be soon. Which means that E100 is going to be taking shells. Now, he's in a very, very good position right now, but it's not perfect, and he's going to be able to take hits. And there's artillery finishing him off. Now, that artillery is going to have something like a 60-second reload. But they're now ahead 6-3. They've taken the hill down the 0 line. Oh, that was a beautiful shot. I don't know if that was his only shot, but that was gorgeous. That was a risk, but he took a chance thinking that all the other anyone who had view range of him was actually out of. They wouldn't have seen him even if he got rid of the cover. Because every time you fire, your cover vanishes for like 5 or 10 seconds or something like that. So here he is. He's moving up. He understands that the push has to happen now. They've played defensive for a very long time, but they've taken the right half of the field. The east half, I guess, would be the appropriate way to put it. So now he's going to push up. Just got spotted. So he's going to try and get a shot here on... I would go for the artillery, personally. I don't think that was a smart shot at all. I think the artillery would have been a much better target. And instead, he takes a tortoise shot for it and gets an ammo rack. So his reload goes basically sky high. And here comes the Jäger. And the Jäger finishes him off, which is really unfortunate. I would have liked to have seen a better play rather than just eating that shell. But he spotted that whole flank, and he took down a ton of tanks. An absolute ton of tanks. So, even though he made a really poor decision at the very end, moving up and going against that Jagdpanzer E100, because he was over there in that bush, he was able to cause the death of the E3, the E100. He scared off a tortoise. He kept a Jagdpanzer E100 pinned in the back. There was an E50 over there that didn't do anything. There was a Waffenträger auf Panzer IV that wasn't doing anything. So, I mean, look at that. There's 2, 3, 4... Well, there's something like 7 tanks that were there. So just by being there, by spotting, he held off half the enemy team. So, great play. Absolutely phenomenal. I will link the replays in the description, so you guys can take a look at that. Yeah, T49, great tank. If you guys like it, if you like what you see, leave a comment. I'm gonna try and do this every week. I'm gonna put one out. If you want me to go over a tank, let me know in the comments. Should be good. All right. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.